If I had understood this about women years ago, I would have avoided almost every mistake that kills attraction. You probably would, too, because you were taught to seduce with social logic, with niceness, with visible effort. But female desire does not communicate with logic. It communicates with biology. It communicates with competition. It communicates with an instant reading of value. And when biology decides, no pretty phrase reverses the verdict. David Buss, a professor at the University of Texas and a global expert in evolutionary psychology, mapped what no one told you. The strategies of female desire are ancient, unconscious, and selective to the point of coldness. It's not malice. It's mechanism. Over thousands of generations, the female brain learned to filter empty promises, detect emotional theatrics, and prioritize signs of real aptitude. Aptitude to protect, to lead, to decide under pressure. Aptitude to generate stability in the midst of chaos. Seduction through this lens stops being improvisation and becomes instinct reading. The modern man's mistake is trying to win with social talk, when the screening happens at another level. You offer verbal guarantees, but your body transmits neediness. You offer total availability, but her instinct reads low competitive value. You rush to prove you're different and only confirm that you're begging for space. Seduction is not about being understood. It's about being recognized. Recognized as the one who doesn't bend to the test, who doesn't lose his center, who doesn't change colors to please. The core truth is uncomfortable yet liberating. Women do not choose the kindest man. They choose the man whose instinct is recognized as more adapted, more dominant, and harder to replace. Kindness without limit is subservience. Empathy without strength is fragility. Availability without scarcity is desperation disguised as love. When you understand this, you stop negotiating for approval and start building presence. Attraction is not a compassion vote. Attraction is a reading of aptitude. This conflict has followed you for years. You believe that the more you demonstrated love, care, and presence, the more you would be valued. You push yourself to the limits of explanation, romance, and easy access. And yet, you watched interest evaporate. You were not rejected for lack of feeling. You were rejected for signals. Signals that reduce the perception of your strength, your leadership, your rarity. Her brain didn't punish you. It simply followed the protocol to avoid investing in someone who cannot sustain value under pressure. The purpose of this video is to give you the map to correct this course. We're going to align behavior, body language, and strategies with what biology truly responds to. We're going to take you out of the approval theater and place you in the field of inevitability. Presence before speech, center before emotion, scarcity before promise. When these pieces align, her instinct does what it has always done with the men who matter. It chooses, invests, stays. Engrave this sentence as a foundation for what comes next. Female desire is not romantic. It is biological. And understanding this is what separates desired men from forgotten men. The illusion of the good man, the mistake that destroys attraction. The mistake begins disguised as virtue. The man believes that being good, understanding, and available will make him desired. He believes that the more he gives, the more he will be loved. But he does not realize that excessive giving destroys the tension that fuels desire. Kindness without limit is not virtue. It is neediness disguised as morality. The good man believes he can buy attraction with affection. But the female instinct does not value affection that comes easily. Female seduction does not respond to logic of immediate reward. It is driven by the reading of power, security, and emotional stability. David Buss explains this clearly. Throughout evolution, women sought partners who combined two central factors: resources and emotional dominance. Resources are not just money, but the ability to generate stability. Emotional dominance is not aggressiveness. It is control. It is the man who decides when to express, when to retreat, when to remain silent. It is the man who does not lose his center in the face of external stimuli. When you demonstrate subservience, her brain interprets low protection potential. The good man becomes comfortable, predictable, and harmless. And harmlessness kills desire. She finds you sweet. She finds you kind. She may even respect you, but she does not feel impulse. Because desire is not built by safety. It is built by tension. And tension is born when she senses that you don't need, but choose. When your gaze does not ask, but decides. When your silence is not escape, but presence. A study from the University of British Columbia in 2011 revealed something that destroys the narrative of the smiling and friendly man. Women were more attracted to men with serious and confident expressions than to smiling gentlemen. The explanation is simple. Constant smiling communicates a need for acceptance. A neutral expression, on the other hand, communicates self-sufficiency. The female brain reads this as genetic value. She does not think. She feels. The calm, centered man with controlled gaze provokes a type of tension that the talkative and excited man can never reach. This is where many get lost. They confuse presence with performance. They try to impress with enthusiasm, stories, expansive gestures. But all of this sounds like a search for approval. The female instinct perceives the effort and classifies it as weakness. She does not desire the man who tries to be noticed. She desires a man who even in silence is perceived. There's a simple and brutal method to break this cycle. Stop seeking approval in micro-interactions. Let silence work for you. Firm presence, slow voice, steady gaze, kindness with limits and power. When you speak, let it be by choice, not anxiety. When you show interest, let it be by decision, not need. The good man who becomes a magnetic man does not lose empathy. He simply installs boundaries. And boundaries are what separate respect from pity. She does not want a man who's always available. She wants a man she needs to win. She wants a man who, even when accessible, is never predictable. The nice guy is safe, but the safe one is the first she forgets. Attraction is not about comfort. It is about feeling that she found someone who could leave at any moment and chooses to stay. Kindness without power generates apathy. Power without kindness generates fear. But the union of both generates desire. The balance between gentleness and dominance is what transforms an ordinary man into a reference. When you understand this, you stop trying to prove value and start emanating value. The good man who understands biology and emotional control is not invisible. He is dangerous. And controlled danger is the name the female instinct gives to attraction. The female instinct to test. Why she challenges your value. What most men call rejection is in truth a test. A biological mechanism as old as desire itself. A woman does not test you to humiliate you. She tests you to read you. She wants to know whether the value you project is real or just a mask. Every provocation, every cold comment, every apparent contradiction is an attempt to measure stability of your center. It is the way the female instinct separates the man who reacts from the man who commands. David Buss, in his studies on the evolutionary psychology of desire, explained that the female brain was shaped to identify false signals of value. Over thousands of generations, women needed to distinguish those who only appeared powerful from those who truly were. Tests are filters. She challenges you to observe whether you remain the same under pressure. If you become unstable, she understands that your power was facade. If you remain calm, her instinct recognizes that your value is genuine. And it is precisely at this point that desire installs itself. The modern man's mistake is interpreting tests as personal rejection. He takes into his ego what he should take into strategy. He tries to explain, justify, defend himself, and every word makes him smaller. When she realizes she can shake your center, the game ends. Because her desire depends on a sense of emotional security and biological dominance. The man who explains positions himself below. The man who observes positions himself above. She does not want to bring you down. She wants to feel that you do not change, that your behavior is stable even under tension, that you do not need to prove anything, because your presence is already proof. This is why the test is the filter and calmness is the pass. You do not win a woman by passing all her tests. You win her when no test changes who you are. Recent research from Florida State University in 2019 confirmed this in an impressive way. Women in their fertile phase reported greater interest in men who maintain neutral expressions and relaxed posture during socially stressful situations. Their bodies reacted to male self-control. Biologically, They were attracted not by verbal empathy, but by visible emotional dominance. The instinct reads calmness as power and power as genetic security. The correct reaction to a test is confident silence. A contained smile and a stable gaze are worth more than 10 arguments. Never defend yourself. Never try to change your perception in the moment. Use the test as a stage. The stage where you show that your value does not depend on the emotional climate. Every time you respond with serenity, you reinforce the message. I do not waver. I lead. Now listen carefully. If you want to learn the psychological techniques that make women choose you without needing to beg for attention, get to know the code of seduction. There I teach you how to activate the mental and biological triggers of female desire based on real studies in evolutionary psychology. These are advanced, precise techniques that transform interaction into reading. It is the only method that teaches you to convert instinct into strategy and presence into attraction. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. The man who understands tests stops reacting and starts leading. The man who masters silence becomes a reference. And the man who does not change under pressure awakens a kind of desire that cannot be explained. Because true masculine power is not the one that speaks the loudest. It is the one that does not need to respond to be understood. The true male value, what awakens lasting desire. The most silent mistake of the modern man is confusing power with arrogance. He believes that being masculine is being dominant over others, when true dominance is over oneself. The masculinity that attracts is not the one that tries to control. It is the one that inspires security and unpredictability at the same time. A woman does not desire the aggressive man. She desires a man who could be dangerous but chooses not to be. The man who has control, not impulse. David Buss explains that female desire is activated by signs of competence and self-sufficiency. A woman is biologically programmed to seek the man who represents stability and emotional strength, not the one who promises, but the one who demonstrates. The desired man is the one who does not need her to feel complete, but still chooses her. This is the difference between genuine attraction and disguised neediness. The needy man wants someone to validate him. The complete man wants someone to accompany him. And the female instinct recognizes this instantly. She does not want to be your world. She wants to orbit around a man who already has his own world. When she notices that you have purpose, rhythm, and boundaries, her desire grows. When she notices you're too available, desire disappears. Her instinct does not seek emotional comfort. It seeks emotional stimulation. She wants to feel like she is beside someone who can protect her, but who is also free enough to be a constant challenge. A study conducted by Harvard University in 2022 showed that men with clarity of purpose and emotional independence are perceived as more attractive and trustworthy. It's no coincidence. Autonomy is sexy. Dependence is repellent. The female brain associates independence with choice power. And choice power is what defines a man's social value. The man who has options is naturally seen as more valuable. And the man who has only one direction of desire becomes predictable, therefore replaceable. The path to becoming this man is not about learning lines, but aligning purpose. Define what you want before seeking approval. Maintain hobbies, projects, and independent circles. Expand your presence outside the axis of conquest. When your life is more interesting than the desire you feel, desire comes to you. The man who lives to be desired loses strength. The man who lives to evolve becomes inevitable. Male power is not the domination of others. It is internal order. When your focus is on building, she feels it. When your time is scarce, she values it. When you disappear because you're busy with something greater, her desire intensifies. The man who controls his own purpose controls the flow of attraction. Understand this. She does not admire you for what you promise, but for what you represent. She does not seek perfection. She seeks reference. The man with purpose is the axis around which the female instinct organizes itself. When you become this reference, there is no need to compete, prove, or explain. Your value speaks before you open your mouth. Autonomy is the beginning, mystery is the middle, and purpose is the end. This triad is what sustains lasting desire. When she notices that your life continues with or without her, it is then that desire becomes respect. And respect is the most discreet name the instinct gives to admiration. What I wish someone had told me before. The truth is simple but brutal. Women do not seek love first. They seek value. Love comes afterward, when the instinct recognizes that it is in front of a man who can protect her, challenge her, and make her grow. It has been this way since the beginning of human history. It is still this way today, only hidden beneath the varnish of modern words. While the man tries to be chosen by the heart, she chooses with instinct. And instinct does not negotiate. It responds to power, calmness, and presence. David Buss showed, based on decades of study, that sexual selection is a process of adaptation. Women and men shape themselves to survive in different contexts. Female desire is selective because it needs to be. Throughout evolution, a wrong choice could cost everything. That is why her brain even today seeks signs of stability, leadership, and genetic potential. That is why the too good man is ignored and the centered man is remembered. One awakens comfort. The other awakens instinct. You do not lose women to more handsome guys. You lose to men who understood the biological rules of the game. The man who masters the rules does not need to prove anything. He emits signals that her mind recognizes as rare. Posture, rhythm, gaze, silence. He does not chase. He attracts. He does not talk about love. He transmits value. And when her instinct identifies this pattern, interest stops being a rational choice. She feels pulled even without wanting to. Understanding female behavior is liberating because it takes you out of the role of approval seeker and places you at the center of emotional gravity. You stop being a man who adapts and become the man who dictates the rhythm. When you understand how desire works, the entire game changes. You realize that attraction does not depend on beauty, luck, or chance. It depends on reading, on behavior, on presence. Power is not in knowing what to say. It is in knowing how desire works. Now listen carefully. If you want to learn real seduction techniques based on evolutionary psychology, the same one studied by David Buss and applied by high-value men, access the code of Seduction now. There I teach advanced methods to master nonverbal language, create tension, and be chosen naturally. A system that reveals step-by-step how to transform energy into attraction, behavior into magnetism, and silence into power. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. Before leaving this video, think about this. How many times did you lose a woman? Not because she rejected you, but because your behavior said, "I don't understand the rules of the game." The difference between a man who is forgotten and the man who is desired is not appearance. It is understanding. In the next video, I'm going to show you the one behavior that makes a woman chase after you, even after rejecting you. And when you understand this, you will realize that true seduction was never in the words, but in the way you master silence.